Hi, this is Daniel, and today I just wanted to make a short video to go through an IELTS Writing Task 1 and Task 2 response, just to give some feedback and also to give you some strategies and techniques on how to improve next time. I won't be giving you a score today, but I will be giving you some very general feedback, some techniques, some strategies, some ways to improve your response next time based on the response that you did earlier. So let's start off by taking a look at writing task 1. I will be highlighting some things. I will be writing some notes. So obviously take a look at those to see how to improve. And at the end, again, I will be writing some feedback so you can see some general ways to improve for next time. So here is task 1. As we know in the academic paper, you will be given a chart, a graph, or some kind of diagram to look at and to answer a question based on. So this bar chart talks about car journeys into the city center made by residents and non-residents. The task here is to summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. So the first thing that has been done here, as you can see, is that there's 4 things that have been taken out of the question, out of the task. So we have 4 key words or 4 key phrases. So the bar chart shows, again, this is useful because it's a phrase that we can use, and it's also referring to the bar chart here. Residents, 1996 to 2005. So we know this is talking about residents and non-residents between the years 1996 and 2005. So we can cover that off, and that's good that we've identified that before we begin. And if we look at the question again, it asks us to summarize and look at trends. So it doesn't say trends here, but what we've understood is to look at the pattern, the main features and comparisons. So what's happened between 1996 and 2005? So let's have a look at the response and let's see what feedback we can give. The first thing to note is that for a task 1 response, it should be around 150 words. It can be slightly more and slightly less, but it should be around that. Now this task is 345 words, so it is a lot, and it's probably too much to score well. So we need to condense this, and we need to bring this down first of all. The first big mistake that a lot of people make is by writing too much, and sadly it's not needed, it's not necessary, and that will bring potential scores down quite a lot. So let's have a look first at the introduction paragraph. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs for this task. So the structure is fine. We just need to bring it down and reduce it to a more manageable word count. So let's begin. The chart illustrated the amount of automobile trips through the city center generated by residents and non-residents between in the years 1996 and 2005. So the first thing we can do is paraphrase the task and put it into our own words. And you've tried to do this here, but we do need to try to simplify it a little more. Again, furthermore, the chart included 2 relevant events as the entrance of the parking meters and closing of the Westgate Street and Park Lane. Units were measured in trips per day. Okay, first of all, we don't need to know this because it is already identified on the graph. So the first thing we can do is just remove that. And again, we need to see if we can minimize the information here. So the chart illustrated the amount of automobile trips through the city center, okay, by residents and non-residents. So again, what I will do here is I'll just put these words in red that we can take out, and then afterwards we will delete them. So illustrated the amount of automobile trips. Could we just say automobile trips instead of the amount of? So automobile trips to the city center by residents and non-residents between in the years. So again, we don't need in the years, we can just say 1996 and 2005. Again, a semicolon is not needed here. It's just one sentence to summarize, to paraphrase and to restate the question. Furthermore, the chart included 2 relevant events, okay? That's useful to note. So we have these 2 events here. So yeah, we can still keep those in there. Again, how can we reduce these? So again, we can take out this. We just want to say parking meters and Westgate Street closed. Okay, closing of Westgate Street and Park Lane. So again, we can take out here closing of the. So again, we don't need this word the. And we can just take these words out now. So here we go. We can reduce this down. It's still going to be clear. It's still going to make sense. And that's the most important thing, especially for IELTS tasks, that they are clear, they follow a simple structure, and that they make sense. So here we go. We have one sentence that's being condensed down. And the second one here, 2 relevant events. Okay, we can just put a comma here just to separate the ideas. Parking meters and the closing of Westgate Street and Park Lane. Okay, so that's a lot shorter. That's a lot more manageable. Let's move on to the next paragraph. According to the bar chart, the trend of residents between 1996 and 1999 was stable. Let's have a look. Yep, roughly around the same. Obviously, there's a little bit of an increase, but the trend is pretty stable in terms of the increase. While the amount of trips of the non-residents in the same period was 3,000 less than the residents, almost 30% of the difference per year. Now, this isn't very clear to understand. And again, the first thing we need to do is put a full stop period here. So the trend of residents between 1996 and 1999 was stable. So the trend is an upward trend for non-residents, and for residents, it's pretty steady. So yeah, that's fine. And for non-residents, 3,000 less than the residents difference per year. So there is a difference again, so that's a good point. At the moment, this is not very clear. So how can we make this clearer and more simple? And again, reduce those words down because there are far too many words. So let's have a look. So first we can just separate it out into 2 sections, and let's see how we can reduce this down. So according to the bar chart, so we can just say according to the chart. Again, we don't need bar chart. We know that it's a bar chart. We don't need to keep specifying that. The trend of residents between 1996 and 1999 was stable. So we could say, we know that it's residents. So we can say the trend of residents between 1996 and 1999 was stable. That's fine. That's one point we can make. The amount move on average around 9,500 trips per year. So 9,500 is about here. So yep, it's roughly between that. While the amount of trips of non-residents in the same period was 3,000 less. So 5,000, and that's not quite accurate, but that's okay. 6,000, 9,000, okay. 6,500, 10,000, roughly. So again, we cannot possibly talk about every single aspect of this bar chart. So we need to see what we can remove and take out. So we've only found one word so far. So the amount move, so we could just say the amount on average. So this word move, we can put in red, we can take it out. Around 9,500 trips per year. So again, this isn't really that important to note. We've already talked about the trend. Now it's an upward trend because it's increasing among non-residents, but for residents, it is kind of going up and down. So it's not really a trend because it's not really a clear pattern. So we can just say, according to the bar charts, the trend. So we can say the amount or the journeys by residents. So the journeys by residents. So we can just put that in there. We'll put that in yellow just to see what we've input. The amount move on average around 9,500 trips per year. We don't really need that information. So we could take this out because we don't really need it at the moment. Remember, the question just asks the main features. So, and comparisons. So again, we're not really comparing too much there. So let's see. The amount of trips of non-residents in the same period was 3,000 less. So in the same period, yep, we need that, was 3,000 less. We know that it's residents and non-residents, so we don't need to say residents. So we can just put in less, almost 30% of the difference per year. Around 30%. So we're not going to say almost, we're going to say around. That way we are being more cautious and we're not making it exactly. So around is a better way of saying almost because it's roughly, approximately, it's not exactly. So yeah, we need a capital letter here. We need to take out this word. So again, this is a little clearer, a little easier to follow again. So let's see what we can do here. The amount of trips of the non-residents. So the amount of trips by non-residents. Yep, so again, we can fix that. And then again, we have a little bit of a shorter paragraph. So what we might need to do is move these together because this is too short to be a paragraph. But before we put it back together, let's just look at the second idea discussed. However, starting the new decade, 2000, okay, the new decade. So again, we don't need this. It's nice to try to describe it, but we don't need it, so we can just put that in red for now. The residents presented a substantial fall, so I think we mean substantial fall. So again, we can just put that in yellow because we've edited that, and had reached around 50% less than was presented in 1998. So let's have a look. We are at about 5,000 compared to about 10,000. So that is correct, yes. 3 years later, so 3 years later, again, yep, 1996, 2000, and then from 1998 to 2001. Is that what we're talking about? It looks like it, yep. So the amount declined even more, and it dropped from 5,000 to 4,000. So where is 5,000? Where is 4,000? Here, 5,000 to 4,000. So yep, 2000 to 2003, we can see that bigger decline by closing of the Westgate Street and Park Lane. So some good ideas here. It's not as clear as it could be, so let's make it clearer. We only need 150 words. So starting in 2000, the residents presented a substantial fall, okay, and had reached around 50% less. So here, a substantial fall, we've already said it. We don't need to say less again. So again, we'll put this in red for now. The amount declined even more and had, so we don't need to say had either. Dropped from 5,000 to 4,000 by closing Westgate Street and Park Lane. Again, we can take this out. So let's do that. Let's just take out these words and phrases that are not needed. And hopefully we can see a much clearer paragraph now. Okay, so far so good. We're about halfway there. We're still at 107 words, which is a little too long. So we're gonna have to shave even more off, but let's keep going on and let's see what we can take out at the end. We might even be able to take out a whole paragraph, but let's see. On another hand, so I think what we're trying to say here is on the other hand. Non-residents showed, so we need a small n next to the comma. Non-residents showed, let me just highlight this because we've edited it and changed it, showed a continued uptrend of the automobile trips between 1996 and 1999. Yes, there is an increasing trend from non-residents in the orange here. So yeah, that trend is there. Haven't we already talked about this before? I think so, non-residents. Yeah, we have started to talk about that. So maybe we don't need this, but let's see. It looks like this is kind of repeating. So I'm just gonna put this in red because we might be able to take this out altogether because we've already seen figures of 30% and 3,000 here. So let's see what's in the rest of the paragraph. However, in the years of 2000 and 2002, the automobile trips were an important increase and reached a peak of 8,000 average trips per year. Non-residents had 3,000 trips more than residents in the same period. After the Westgate Street and Park Lane were closed, we've already said that here, the amount of trips decreased around 45% in the years 2000 and 2005. So what we might be able to do here, we can keep the last point because I think that is quite important. But this information here, we probably don't need it because a lot of it is just repeating and we only have 150 words. So what we can probably do is actually get rid of all of this and reduce everything down. So here we can just connect these two ideas. So by closing Westgate Street and Park Lane, and we just use a connective, just use a connective here, where the amount of trips of non-residents decreased around 45% between the years. So again, we don't need this. We can just put between the years 2002 and 2005. Okay, almost done now. We're on the last paragraph and we have about 124 words. So still a little bit on the long side, but we're getting much closer to where we need to be for this. We've summarized the question in our own words, and We've talked about the two trends, and then we've got into more detail here about residents. You can see that, so I'll just highlight this in purple for you: residents, non-residents, and again here, residents, and again we can go to non-residents. So we have a good equal share there of the trends of residents and non-residents that I mentioned twice in this paragraph. So what can we say to close up and to finish off? Do we need more and more? Maybe not. Let's see. The period between 1996 and 1999. Oh, we've already seen this here. So again, we don't need this. So we can take all of this out. So I'm just going to put it in red provisionally before we continue. 1999 and 2002. Okay, we've got 1996 and 1999. We've got 1998, we've got 2000, we've got 2002. So this is already being covered as well. Again, not needed. The curve of non-residents increased. We've talked about this as well. And in this time, we've talked about as well. So we've already covered this information. So let's just stop there. However, both types of residents presented a substantial decrease due to the entrance of parking meters. And okay, so this is a nice point to summarize on. So we're going to take this out again and bring it back. So we need to use a phrase to summarize. So in conclusion, that's a really simple, easy way to summarize our points, which we've identified in the second paragraph here. So we have an introduction. We have our main points to summarize and compare, and then here we can conclude. So we can take out this word however because we've used in conclusion. Both types of residents presented a substantial decrease due to the entrance of parking meters. So due to the entrance, we can change this word. Due to the installation, putting in parking meters, so installation of parking meters, and the closing of the Westgate Street. So we don't need the, so in closing of Westgate Street and Park Lane. Consequently, so let's separate these up. Consequently, the drop for residents was 1,500 less trips, while for non-residents, it was 3,000 trips between 2000 and 2005. Okay. We might want to look at it overall, but that's fine. We can talk about the trend because Westgate Street and Park Lane in about 2000 to 2005, it would have had that effect. So it's talking about both of them. So that's fine. Let's have a look now overall word count. We've got it to 170. We could still take out maybe one or two ideas, but overall it's much clearer, it's much better. Don't worry too much about it being exactly 150 words. If it's a little over, or a little under, that's fine. Just try not to have it too much. 170 is quite high, so just try to keep it around 150 if possible. A little over, a little under, that's fine, but this is how we would tackle a task 1. Keep it nice and simple and short. 3 paragraphs is enough. Introduction here, which I'll just put, introduction, where we rephrase the question. We outline the key points. So I think there were 2 key points here outlined, so that's what we can do for the first paragraph. Here we've talked about main trends of both, that's residents, non-residents. And finally, to conclude, a nice short conclusion, just summarizing the main point, the main kind of trend, the main thing that we've seen. So conclusion, we have a phrase here to mark that we are concluding, and then we're just going to highlight again main point. Maybe just choose one main point, or maybe 2 at most, but it needs to be very concise. So that is how we would structure a little bit better and a little bit clearer for task 1. All right, so let's move on to writing task 2. Let's have a look down here. So 40 minutes for this one. The topic, longer lifespans and improvement in the health of older people, suggests that people over the age of 65 can continue to live full and active lives. In what ways can society benefit from the contribution that older people can make? And there's a little help box here that I found very useful. And it's important that we try to follow it because a lot of people, again, make the same errors. So many discussion topics require you to express a personal opinion. What do you think? So try to use a variety of expressions to do this. I think, I believe that. It seems to me that, in my opinion, in my view. These are great because they're simple, they're clear, they show your opinion. Do not say according to me or according to my opinion. You can't really refer to yourself in the third person or the first person. And unless you're a published author or a researcher, we shouldn't really say according to me or my opinion because it's not really valuable in an academic sense, especially if you're doing an academic writing task like this. So let's get into the task. So for this, we need to write about 250 words. Already, we're at 293, so we can only take out a little, which is good. So let's have a look at how this is being tackled. It's being done in 4 paragraphs. So the way that this would usually work in a 4-paragraph structure, first, of course, is the introduction, followed by looking at one side and the other side. So we're going to have, let me just separate this up. So here we have an introduction and blue. And the second thing here, so this is looking at human history, and this is looking at modern society. So we have a little bit of a contrast, which is good. We're looking at old beliefs and new beliefs. So history, that's one side of it. On the other side, we're talking about modern society. So let me just go here. So modern society. Of course, the final paragraph is going to be a conclusion where we just tie everything together. So in my view. All right, so let's get into this response. Let's see how we can improve. Any feedback, any advice that I can give for this response. So let's begin here. The quality of life and the advances in the health industry, it allowed that senior citizen can ongoing to live in perfect conditions as an active and healthier. Okay, so we need to reword this. There are a few errors, it's not quite clear. And when we start our response, we need to make sure that it is very clear. So how can we rephrase this? How can we reword this? So yep, the first step is to rephrase the question for you to answer. So how can we do this? So the quality of life advances in the health industry. So we want to just change this a little, and the advances, we just want to change to advances. So the quality of life and advances in the health industry have allowed senior citizens, all of them, to live a more active and healthier life. So it's the same idea, it's the same kind of vocabulary, we're just making it a little clearer and a little easier to follow. So I'll put this in yellow just to show that I have changed it. However, which role people age over 65 represent in the society? In this essay, we'll review the different ways that senior citizens participate in our lives and which are the society benefits by this valuable role. So this is very wordy, as in there's too much here, it's not clear, it's not simple. So again, we can just rephrase and we can try to get it simplified so that we can follow it and follow the rest of the paragraphs, because the first paragraph should set the scene and should help us to understand what is coming next. So the role of over 65s, this means older people in society, is unknown, I think is what you're trying to say here in this response. So in this essay, we'll review these kinds of phrases we don't need. We only have 250 words, and honestly, this is saying too much, and we don't need to say this. It doesn't add any value. We know that it's an essay. We know we're going to review some different ideas, so we can take this out. We don't need this. So however, the role of over 65s in society is unknown. Senior, we can just say seniors can participate. Let's change this word participate. I'm not sure if we can use this one. Let's say can contribute to the lives of others, their own, and to benefit not only themselves, but also society in general. So it's kind of the same idea. Citizens participate in our lives, they help society, and it's a valuable role. So yeah, we can just say that instead. So we've got the same ideas, we've just shortened them down and tried to make them a little clearer. And now, again, this isn't going to be perfect because I'm just using the ideas here, but it's already much clearer. So let's have a look at the first point, the first supporting point here, the first body paragraph, which is about history. So in the human history, so this word the we don't need, we can take this out. Older people have represented wisdom and experience. Yeah, this is a good point, we just put a comma. Even in many cultures, elderly people are seen as a godlike thing. I know what you're trying to say here, as a godlike thing. So people, elderly people are seen as respected, I believe. So in society, yes, are seen. So we're gonna just take this out and just put how respected by others in society. So I'll just add this in to make it clearer. In cultures, as Japanese, Arabic, and Muslim, the forefather has an essential role in their family. So again, I'm not too sure if this is correct or not, but we can take this out. So again, I'm just going to put this in red just to identify we don't need this. So instead of saying specific ones and we're not sure, we could just say in cultures around the world, and then we can take this out. Around the world. In cultures around the world. So again, I'll put this in yellow. Older people have an essential role in their families. So again, we've changed that. For example, Arabic people believe that the age is the hand of experience. Okay. Again, we don't need this word the. And this hand shows the correct way to act in life through, okay, we can take this out, past events, values, and beliefs. And this is the end of the idea. Okay. So good ideas, just need to clean them up and make them a little easier to understand, which we've done. We're taking out some of these words that we don't need. For example, in these cultures, it's common that crucial decisions about different aspects of life are decided for senior family members. For instance, arranges wedding. Okay, so we've said for example, and we've said for instance. So we don't need both of them. So again, we'll take out the last one where it says for instance. We don't need this. We can remove it from the essay. So for example, in these cultures, it is common. So we need a comma. It is common to that crucial decisions about different aspects of life are decided for senior family members. I think that's fine. Arranges weddings, I'm not sure if that's the case for everyone, and I'm not sure if the examiner would know either, if this is accurate or not. So it might be better just to take this out, just so we're not giving incorrect or maybe inaccurate information. So just be careful with that. So the next paragraph talks about modern society. So let's have a look. Sorry, let's get it back up here. So it's not formatting well. That's okay. We'll just leave it here. So on the other hand, again, on the other hand, in the modern Occidental society, I'm not sure what this means. So we'll take out this word because it's not very clear to me, and I'm not quite sure what that means. The senior citizens have a similar role, but without defined beliefs. Okay, so we're showing a little bit of a difference now for modern society. People older than 60 have taken, so we'll just put have here, have taken an active role in the society, So this should be yellow, my apologies. Many older people continue their life without goals. Okay, so we can put here. For example, some senior teachers ongoing teaching in communities or libraries. Others joined in voluntary programs. Okay. So again, just separate these ideas. In these programs, they can be work in different things and give support to others through knowledge, good judgment, and understanding. Okay, this point is great, so we can leave this one as it is. Let's just take out this one and this one. Okay, so let's focus on this sentence because we have a few small errors. So for example, some senior teachers ongoing. So I think this word should be continue. So let's just save that. Or libraries. And we need to show contrast while others. So we use the word while others join in voluntary programs. Okay. In these programs, they can be work. So they can work, be work in, they can work in different things, different areas. Let's correct this. And give support to others. Yeah, that's fine. Through knowledge, good judgment, and understanding. Okay, so far so good. Last paragraph is the conclusion. We're almost at the end. So how do we conclude? In my view, okay, that's fine. We can show personal opinion. That's what it's asking you to do here. So we've covered that. Older people have a fundamental role in our society. Yes. Why? Because they give the highest contribution in the community. Yeah, fantastic. So this is just one sentence. So let's keep it as one sentence. They provide us values, manners, knowledge about experiences and past events. Absolutely, yes, correct. They lived the same stages than us, and now they have the opportunity to give us an update to understand the life concept. Okay, nice idea, but again, we just need to quickly simplify this. So how can we do that? So we can say they have lived the same, let's try and change this actually. They have experienced of the same, say, lives. Let's say they have experienced many of the same issues as us. Now they have an opportunity to help us to understand the ups and downs of life. I think that's what we're trying to say here. So we'll just take this out. We'll bulk this up to here. I'll put that in yellow. I'll just quickly remove these paragraph markers. And if we look now, we have a completed paragraph, 280 words. Now we take out these, and we take out these. Let's do that now. Okay, try again. Should be a little easier. So we're at 274. So we can probably take out maybe one more idea, but again, it's a lot smaller compared to what it was before. And again, we need to aim for 250. So in this case, again, 274, not a huge amount. It's maybe one sentence we can remove. I wouldn't want to do that to this task, but just something for you to be aware of when you are writing. Make sure that you stick to around 250 or just slightly over, maybe a few words. That doesn't mean you have to count the words, but just try to focus on hitting that word count as best you can. You can do that through the structure, okay? So I hope you find this feedback useful. Remember that structuring and organizing your work is the most important thing. If we have a clear structure, if it's easy to understand and easy to follow, it's going to help you a lot more. Keep the language simple, keep the ideas simple, and make sure that we hit that word count. And structure and organization will definitely help you to write clearly, to write more effectively, and also to improve your scores. So if you have any other questions, do let me know. I hope you found this video useful, and look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks.